it's Steve Mills here, and welcome to the Results Mastery podcast. It's great to have you here, whether you're listening on my actual podcast or watching this on YouTube. You're very welcome. If this is the first time you've ever listened to me, then a double thank you for doing so. And if you're a regular, then welcome back, and it's great to have you here. I always believe, that one of the keys to being successful is learning new stuff. So many people in my industry, they've got a background in marketing, they did a degree in marketing, or perhaps a CIM, which is the Chartered Institute of Marketing qualification. But the truth of the matter is, really, if they did that, then that was back, let's say several years ago. And the real value of that in the modern digital marketing world that we live in is almost obsolete. It's almost irrelevant. It almost doesn't matter. And I say that not because, I don't possess one, but I don't. But really, you look at the world of marketing right now, and it is constantly and consistently changing. What we knew a month ago even isn't relevant anymore. I'm not saying all of it isn't relevant, of course it is, but what I am saying is that it's incredibly important and also incredibly difficult for anyone to keep up to date with the speed at which marketing is moving. And that includes myself, by the way. It could be very easily a full-time job. And trying to keep up to date with it is a real challenge. And for business owners who've got a business to run, orders to get out and sales to create, and, apart from all the financial side of their business and so on, it's almost impossible, to be honest. So, it really is important to keep up to date. Okay, so that said, let me just ask you to do me a bit of a favor, to be honest, and that is I'd like you to subscribe to the podcast, whether that's on my actual podcast on audio, whether it's on iTunes or Amazon Music or wherever you are. It'd be great for you to do that. If you're on YouTube and you're listening to this and watching this via video, again, the same things apply. If you could subscribe, and if you click that little bell, it will remind you whenever I do another video, so you can keep right on up to date. Now, in this particular podcast, I want to talk about something that's really simple, but really, really powerful. And that is the power of headlines. There's an old saying that dates back many years ago, probably back 30 years when I first started. This was still around back then. And that is this: the headline is the advert for the advert. And what that means is that they say that 80% of the success of an advert is in the headline. It's like the first thing you read. It's like the top of the page. It's normally bigger than any other writing on that page, and it accounts for 80%. And the job of the headline is to get you to read more, isn't it? That's ultimately what you want. You're probably not just going to read a headline and then buy whatever it is somebody is selling, but you're going to read a headline. Imagine you're looking, I don't know, perhaps in the old days in a newspaper or magazine, and you're flicking through, and what are you looking for? You're reading the headlines, trying to find something of interest, whether that's an advert or a editorial. You're trying to find something of interest. Now, in the modern world of that, you could almost take anything. You're scrolling up on LinkedIn. What are you doing? Having a look at the different posts, perhaps on your phone or on your computer screen. And what are you doing? You're having a look at all the different headlines. Yeah, it's all right. It may or may not be an advert, but it's definitely a headline. And the same applies, by the way, to Google. or search engines. When you type something in, you're looking for, what do you read? You read all the different headlines that Google's presenting to you. The same with email. You get up in the morning, you come into the office, what have you got? Maybe 40 different headlines from different people that have sent you emails. So the question is, or the key is rather, I'm going to say, is getting attention. You've got to get attention with your headline. Now, I'm not here going to tell you about all the different great headlines you can use and so on and so forth. Um, because it depends what business and what industry you're in. I like to keep it simple, and I like to try to use headlines that are focused on what it is I'm going to talk about, but also who it's for. So a good headline for me might be something like, if I'll just try and write I haven't thought about this, so I may get you may find out that when I do publish this podcast, it might have a different headline to the one I'm going to say. But I might do something like, if you're like this, then do that. I like that type of headline. So I might say, if you're a small business owner and want to grow your business, then have a listen to my podcast uh, episode, which is all about the power of headlines. You get the idea? So if you're like this, then do that. I really like that. I also like how to as a concept, how to do this, how to do that. I also like how to do this without doing that. So, how to grow your business without wasting a load of money on marketing, that type of thing, I think is really, really relevant. But I also think it's really appropriate to mention who this is for. This is what I need then. Three tips to help consultants grow their business. Right. So what is that about? It's about three tips to help consultants to grow their business. I'm a consultant. Let's have a look. What are these three tips I need to know? That's really what we're trying to create. And what you're really trying to create is emails, social media posts, blogs, web pages, po your advert on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube. You want people to watch the YouTube and so on and so forth. So it is incredibly important, guys, to try to make sure that your headlines are the advert for it's like filling the gap there for the website, the email, the social media post, and so on and so forth. Now, that all said, let me just give you a quick example of something. We're going back a few years now. I had a client who were advertising in a magazine. They'd taken out the full back page of this glossy mag. This magazine went out to local authorities, and it was sent out to every local authority in the UK. And I believe from memory there were 38,000 copies. So it went out, not to just to one local authority, but they might get 10, 20, 50 copies. I'm not quite sure, but 38,000 copies. Now they were spending £2,000 per month on the advert for the back of the mag, and they've been doing that for 6 months. So they spent £12,000. At this point, I came into their world. I hadn't worked with them before, and I was in my first initial advisory meeting. And we were looking at all their different marketing and what was working and what wasn't, and what were the numbers like, how much had you spent, what had you done, how many leads had it created, how many sales had those leads created, making sure that we knew what was working and what wasn't. And it came to this advert, and they said, well, it's not very good. We're thinking of closing it down, stopping doing it. I said, well, what are the results? They said, well, we don't know how many people are looking at it, obviously. We know it goes out to 38,000 people. But all we can tell you, Steve, is that we've had zero inquiries as a result of it. So we spent £12,000 and not got one lead. I said, well, yeah, I think we should get rid of it, or we could try and improve it. They said, what do you mean? I said, well, why don't we try testing different headlines to see if we could improve the conversion rate of the headline? So I suggested doing that, and they said, well, okay, let's give it a go. So I looked at their headline, and I'm not going to mention the company's name because they're still around, and it would be a little bit embarrassing for them. But I looked at the headline, and the headline was the name of the company. Okay, they'd used their company name as the headline, and I said to them, "Oh, are you well known in the industry?" They said, "No, no, we've only just they were a Spanish company. They've only just moved to the UK and they're trying to get established." I said, "Okay, great. So." Why are you using the headline of your company? They said, well, it's brand recognition. We want to get the brand out there. We want to get known. I said, okay, I get that. So what do you want? Do you want to create leads or do you want to get your brand known? They said, oh, no, no, we want to get leads. We want to get leads. I said, okay, well, we need to change the headline. They weren't too keen, but they said, okay. And what I changed the headline from the name of the company to I found out what their product did. And they sold a very expensive product. It was basically £2.5 million to buy their product. It was a big machine that helped to help with recycling, like a big conveyor belt thing where the bottles went this way and the paper went that way and the metal cans and things went another way, and it automated all that. So it was a big expensive piece of equipment. Now, what I also found out is that it saved local authorities about 75% on recycling costs. Okay, so it basically paid for itself in the first year, and it lasted about 10 years. So we drafted a headline, or I drafted a headline that said local authorities save 75% on recycling. That's all it said. And then there was a couple of bullets with details, and then a phone number, a website, and an email for people to inquire further. What is a fairly long story anyway, but to cut things short and get straight to the result that they produced, that month, the following month when the magazine was published, they got 5 inquiries and two of those turned into sales of £5 million. They've gone from zero sales to sales of £5 million just by changing the headline. Now, I can give you lots of other examples of that, but I don't want to take more of your time than is needed. What I'd suggest as your action as a result of listening to this is that you go and have a look at some of your headlines. I believe start with your website. So many people have websites with headlines like "About Us." I mean, that is about as boring as could be, isn't it? Nobody cares about you or me. About us or our services. That holds no value whatsoever. Even if you changed it to marketing services or accountancy services or plumbing services, then at least that would be of value to Google, so Google could list your page under the correct thing. Our services don't do any good whatsoever. So there's things like that for you to consider. What about your emails? If I asked you your last 10 emails, how effective have they been at getting opened? Because that's the key. It's getting opens. That's what you want. You want to know how many people have opened your email. So, think about that and go and, there's so many ways these days. You could use AI, ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT to write you 10 headlines, and you could say with SEO in mind, or you could say, write me 10 headlines about XYZ, excuse me, about XYZ, that will increase conversion rates or will improve open rates of emails. You with me? So tell the more specific you can be with websites like ChatGPT, the better, the more interest and the more focus you will get, because you're advising and or teaching, training the bot in order to do that more effectively. So go and do that. Go and take, have a look at your website, have a look at your emails, have a look at your social media. If you think about your social media, and it doesn't matter which site, but if I use LinkedIn as an example, it's your open rate. How many people are actually looking at this? Go and find headlines that have got lots of inquiries. People are looking at them, and then do the same thing or similar, adapt. Model. No, I don't believe in copying, but I do believe in modeling, and there's a distinct difference between that. So that's it. That's all I want to say for now. Couple of things that I just want to tell you about. On the 25th of June, from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., I'm running a free online training program in marketing. If you go to my website, which is results-mastery.com, you'll see at the top a link in order to book your place on that webinar. So go and do that. It's totally free. There's no obligation, totally free to attend, and it will provide you with some great value and great ideas to grow your business. So what else can I tell you? Yeah, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to my YouTube as well. And if you want to connect to me on LinkedIn, I'll be very happy to accept any requests from people who would like to connect. Finally, if you do want to find out more from me about working with me and how I can help you, I've been doing this for 30 years, so I've gotten pretty good at it. If you'd like some help, and you're willing and committed to growing your business, and you're willing to put some time, money, and effort into it, because we don't get nothing without doing nothing, then get in touch. Again, go to results-mastery.com, use one of the gold buttons to sign up for a online meeting on Zoom, and I look forward to speaking to you then. Thanks very much for listening. So, thank you for listening. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, and even more, if you've benefited from it and you'd like to know more, you'd like more of my help, and you'd like to benefit from my nearly 30 years of experience working with and learning from the leading experts in the world in the area of sales and marketing, then here's what you need to do next. You need to go to my website, which is results-mastery.com, and use the gold button to book yourself a meeting on a one-to-one basis with me. Thank you very much for listening again, and I look forward to speaking to you very, very soon. Thank you.